Today I'm going to share my Wilson Blade tennis racket review. The Wilson Blade is one of the most popular rackets in the world. Wilson is obviously one of the most popular racket manufacturers in the world. Dozens of pro players, including Serena Williams, use the Wilson Blade, and then recreational and club level players use the Blade all over the world. So today what we're going to cover is 5 different models of the Wilson Blade, and then I'm going to talk a lot about the on-court performance as far as what it's going to help your game with, areas that the Wilson Blade has some drawbacks or some cons that it might not be a good fit for certain players. So we're going to cover that and then get into the 5 different models and the specifications of the Wilson Blade and things like that. So to start, Wilson has put a lot of different technologies into this frame. The area that it really excels is in comfort and control. I'm going to include some more information below the video, as well as some links so that you can read more about that technology and how they developed the frame. But for this video, I'm going to just really focus on the on-court performance and how it's going to help your game if you decide to choose the Wilson Blade. So some pros of the Wilson Blade. The first thing, like I said, is its comfort. So the technology that went into this frame allows a lot of flexibility. So when you make contact with the ball, the frame has really good feel, really good comfort. I noticed on my ground strokes that I could not only feel the ball really well, but I didn't get a lot of feedback. So if you are a player who has struggled with tennis elbow or something like that, the Wilson Blade could be a good fit for you. I'd say probably the only racket that has a little bit more flex or comfort than this would be the Wilson Clash racket, which we've also reviewed, so you can check that out as well. And then the other area that this racket excels in is control. So you can see it's got a pretty thin beam for a modern racket. The string pattern on this one is 16 by 19, and it's a 98 square inch head size. So it's definitely a kind of high level intermediate to maybe advanced level racket. A lot of pro players play with this 98 version, and it's definitely geared towards control for players who can generate their own power. What I noticed was on my ground strokes, I could really feel the ball well. I could control the ball and move it around the court. With this 16 by 19 string pattern, I was able to generate plenty of spin as well, which is really important for my game at least. And it was also a really stable racket. So this racket's a little over 11 ounces strung. And I noticed on any fast-paced serves, it was really stable on returns, even if I hit it a little bit off center. So it was a really solid racket all around from the baseline, on my ground strokes as well as returns. On my serve, it didn't have a ton of power, but I was able to spin the ball in really well and kind of move the ball around the box and add a lot of variation to my serve. So those are the pros for the Wilson Blade. A few drawbacks, like I said, it's not the most powerful racket. It's more geared towards comfort and control. So if you're somebody who needs some help with power, look at a racket like the Wilson Ultra or perhaps the Babolat Pure Drive, something like that. And the other area that I noticed that the Blade is not quite as strong in is maneuverability and mobility. So I play a lot of doubles and I'll play some really, I like to get to the net, and a lot of players will hit, real fast-paced forehands or backhands at me, and I have to be able to move the racket pretty quickly to catch up to a hard-hit ball. And it wasn't the most mobile racket that I've reviewed, so it did lack a little bit in maneuverability. But if I was able to get the racket in position, like I said, the stability was really good, the control was really good. I did have a little bit of trouble getting easy depth on the ball. So a lot of my ground strokes and even volleys at the net would land around that service line area. So I had to swing a bit bigger, a bit more freely to get that depth. but I was definitely able to control the ball, move it around the court, and generate plenty of spin with this racket. So next we'll get into the 5 different versions. So like I said, this is the Blade 98 16x19 version 7. This is probably the most popular version. It's definitely what I'd recommend for most high-level intermediate to advanced players. If you want a version with even more control but a little bit less spin, go with the 98 18x20. So that means the string pattern is going to be a little bit more dense, which will give you a little more control, a little more feel, but not quite as much spin when you're hitting the ball. The third version is the Wilson Blade 100L. This is more of a lightweight version. It's got a 100 square inch frame, and it's probably best for beginner to maybe intermediate level players because of the lightweight nature of the racket. It's going to be a little bit easier to swing. It's going to, with a larger frame, it's going to have a bigger sweet spot, maybe a little bit more access to power and spin, but not quite as much control or stability with that racket. Another popular version of the Blade is the Blade 104. So one of my mixed partners actually plays with the Blade 104. It's got a 104 square inch head size, so a pretty large sweet spot, pretty good power. It has a 16x19 string pattern as well, so it's relatively open. You'll be able to generate plenty of spin, and it's actually a ½ inch longer, so that'll give you a little bit more leverage, a little bit more power on your serve and on your ground strokes. And one of my mixed partners who plays with it really likes it for its easy access to power from the baseline. So she likes to play from the baseline and really work the ball around the court. It's still got that comfort that the Blade is known for, but a little bit more power than the 98 inch head size. So you can find a little bit easier depth and a little bit more pace on your ball than you can with some of the other versions. And then the last version is Serena Williams racket, the Blade SW102. So it has a 102 square inch head size. The frame is 28 inches long, so it's a full ½ inch longer, or a full inch longer than standard. And the string pattern is 18x19, which is a little uncommon, but it's going to be a little bit denser than a 16x19 string pattern. So you'll still have some spin, but a little bit more control and feel with even more power because of the 102 square inch frame. And that extra full inch will help you with a little bit more leverage on your serve, on your ground strokes, and things like that. That racket's not going to have quite as much maneuverability, so it's definitely geared more towards singles players who are going to be staying back, playing from the baseline. But obviously it's a great racket. Serena Williams uses it, so definitely check that one out as well. So that's it for this Wilson Blade review. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We're going to have links to each of the rackets that you can buy below, as well as more information about the technology behind the rackets and things like that. So thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.